The SNP could hatch a desperate plot to grind down Boris Johnson and his Conservative Party government with successive constitutional disputes until they bow to pressure and allow a second referendum on Scottish independence. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has ramped up her campaign for a second vote on Scottish independence, more than 6 years after Scots voted by a margin of 55% to 45% against splitting from the Union. The Prime Minister has continued to reject the increasing calls and is refusing to grant the Holyrood Parliament in Scotland the Section 30 power needed to stage another referendum in the country. Mr. Johnson has argued the result from the first referendum in 2014 must be honoured and is a once-in-a-generation event, but Pete Wishart, the SNP's longest-serving member in Westminster, said Scotland could pile the pressure on Downing Street into granting a new independence vote by making the consequences of denying one increasingly difficult. Writing in his blog, the SNP MP for Perth and North Perthshire warned, MPs should continue to serve our constituents and speak out in Parliament, but it would not be business as usual. In the Scottish Parliament, legislative consent could be increasingly withdrawn. The Scottish Parliament could also start to legislate on issues at the edge of the devolved powers, challenging the UK government to strike Scottish democracy down again. We could then start to grind them down with successive constitutional disputes. The SNP currently holds 61 of the 129 seats currently available in Holyrood, with the Scottish Conservatives a long way back on just 30 seats. Mr. Wishart believes if the SNP triumph in the Scottish elections next May, then Mr. Johnson and his government would agree to an early ballot on Scottish independence. But the long-standing member in Westminster warned Scotland could start to put in place its own referendum if Downing Street continues to deny Holyrood the powers for an agreed one. He stopped short of saying Scotland should make such a move but said, the UK will agree to a referendum if we win in May. They will have looked at the consequences of saying no just as we have. They will not like the look of it at all. Many from within the SNP, including MP Angus MacNeil and Inverclyde councillor Chris McElhenney, want the party to come up with a Plan B if resistance continues from the UK government. Adding a win for them in next May's election should be regarded as a mandate for independence. But Mr. Wishart has called for those wanting a backup plan to be patient and resolute. He added, I am sincerely of the opinion that the Tories will agree to another referendum, particularly if the conditions of 2011 are recreated and there is another SNP majority.